The first thing you should do when you get into Fusion 360 is to save your file. To do this, go to File and select Save. Next, in the name box, type the name of your file. You want to type Nesting Bowls 1. Drop down the Location box menu and select to create a new project. Title this project Nesting Bowls and select Enter on your keyboard. Select your new project title Nesting Bowls and then select Save. This process saves your Fusion 360 file to the Autodesk Cloud. This means you can access your Fusion 360 files from the data panel using any computer that has Fusion 360 installed on it. Next, go back to File and select Export. In the name box, type Nesting Bowls 1. In the type box, drop down the menu and select Autodesk Fusion 360 Archive Files. Next to the location box, select Other Options, select your location, select Open, and then select Export. When you export your file from Fusion 360, you are creating a hard copy on your personal computer. Remember to always save and export throughout your 3D modeling process. To set up your units of measurement, drop down the Document Settings option and then select to edit the units. In the pop-up menu to the right of your screen, drop down the Unit Type menu, select Inch, and then select OK. To create a 3D model, you must begin with a 2D sketch. Below the Solids tab, select Create Sketch. Next, you must select a plane to sketch on. You have 3 default planes to choose from: top, front, and side. Navigate to the position coordinates in the top right of your screen and select Front. Then in the center of the screen, select the plane that is facing you. When the Sketch Palette pop-up menu becomes visible, you can select to toggle the sketch grid on or off depending on your preferences. To begin drawing, select the Line tool under the Solids tab. You can also drop down the Create tab to view all of the sketch tools. With the Line tool selected, left-click on your mouse to drop a point in the center of your screen at the origin point. To end your line, move your mouse upward and left-click to drop the point. To create your second line, move your mouse to the right and then left-click to drop a point. Once you have these 2 lines in place, right-click on your mouse and then select OK from the menu. The next step is to dimension your lines to the proper length. To do this, select Sketch Dimension, click on your first line, move your mouse to the left to pull that dimension out, double-click on the number, type in 3, and select Enter. Repeat those same steps for the next line. Click on your line, pull the dimension up, type in 5, and select Enter. Using the scroll wheel on your mouse, you are able to zoom in and out within your sketch. To draw the curvature of your bowl, select the Spline tool. Or you can drop down the Create menu and select the Fit Point spline. Drop your first point at the origin point, drop your second point midway, and drop your third point at the end of the second line. Then right-click and select OK. The curvature of a spline can be manipulated by selecting one of the spline points and moving it around. When you select the spline, two handles appear. These two handles can also be used to manipulate the curvature of the spline. In preparation for your 3D model, you'll want to add construction lines to make the curvature of the spline more accurate. To do this, select your line tool, then select the origin point, pull your line to the right, and then drop your point. Then pull your line up vertically and drop another point to create a second line. Then right-click and select OK. To transform these lines into construction lines, click and drag to select both lines. In the Sketch palette, next to Line Type, select Construction. Notice that the lines changed from solid to dashed. Construction lines are different from regular lines because they do not affect the final outcome of your 3D model. They are only there for reference. For the next step, select Sketch Dimension and dimension both construction lines. For the horizontal construction line, enter the dimension of 3. For the vertical construction line, enter the dimension 1. To exit the Sketch Dimension tool, right-click and select Cancel. Select your spline point and drag it to the end of the vertical construction line. Once your sketch has all of the proper dimensions, you are ready to move forward to creating a 3D form. Select Finish Sketch within the Sketch palette. If you happen to zoom into your model a little too much, you can always go down to the navigation panel and select Zoom to Fit. This is an easy and quick way to get your modeling back on track. If your mouse does not have a scroll wheel, you can select Zoom in the navigation panel and click and drag to zoom in and out. You can also select to pan, where you click and drag your drawing or your model around the screen. To exit out of any of the navigation tools, just click somewhere on your screen. To create a 3D model from this sketch, drop down the Create menu and select Revolve. Notice the pop-up Revolve menu appearing to the right of your screen. To transform this sketch into the shape of a bowl, you will need to input specific information. First, you will need to select a profile. The profile has been pre-selected for you because you only have one sketch on the screen, but if it does not say One Selected next to Profile, click anywhere on your sketch to select the sketch profile you created. Next, you must select the axis, and think about this as the axis of revolution, the line in which your entire profile will revolve around to create the bowl form. The box next to axis should be highlighted in blue. If it is not, click on it. Then select the center vertical line that you drew first. Now you should see a preview of how your bowl will evolve into a 3D form. Within the Revolve pop-up menu, there are other options you can choose from, such as Extent Type, Angle, Direction, and Operation. Rotate your model to view the full 360-degree revolve. Notice the construction lines for your sketch are visible, but are in no way hindering your 3D model. For funsies, I want you to change the angle value from 360 degrees to 180 degrees and then select Enter on your keyboard. Rotate your model and notice that the revolve only revolved 180 degrees, so you only have half of a bowl. If you happen to make a mistake in your sketch or in your revolve, you can always go back and edit those features to correct them. In the bottom left of your screen, there is what we call a timeline. This timeline records all of your sketches and all of the solid tools that you use, such as a revolve, in sequential order so that you can go back and correct any mistakes. To correct the revolve feature, right-click on the revolve in the timeline and then select Edit Feature. Notice the pop-up menu to the right has returned, but instead of being titled as Revolve, it's titled as Edit Feature. To change the revolve from 180 degrees to 360 degrees, you can change the number directly on the model or in the pop-up menu, and then select OK. At this point, you've probably noticed that the bowl shape comes to a point at the bottom instead of flattening out to be able to sit on a surface. To change this, you're going to edit a sketch similar to how you edited your revolve feature. In the timeline, right-click your sketch and select Edit Sketch. Notice your sketch palette has reappeared, so you are now ready to make adjustments. The first thing you need to do is select your vertical line and then change the line type to construction. Next, select your line tool, click on the origin, and then drag a line out to your left horizontally at about 1/2 inch, which is 0.5. Pull your line vertically all the way to the top, even with the horizontal line. Drop a point, pull your line to the right, and drop another point directly on top of the endpoint of your horizontal line. Then right-click and select OK. Select Sketch Dimension, and then select the small horizontal line at the bottom left. Double-click on the value and type in 0.5. Right-click and select Cancel to exit Sketch Dimension. Once your sketch has all of the proper dimensions, go to the sketch palette and select Finish Sketch. Notice your 3D model did not change, and you now have a warning. In the timeline, the revolve feature is highlighted yellow. To correct this issue, right-click your revolve feature and select to edit the feature. The error here is that the selected axis is the previous vertical line, which is now a construction line. Remove the selected axis and then select the correct vertical line. Once you get the new preview and everything looks good, select OK. Rotate your bowl to see the flat bottom. To hollow out the inside of your bowl, you need to use the Shell tool. Select Modify and then select Shell. In the Shell pop-up menu, you need to select a face or body to shell. Select the top of the bowl, leave the direction as inside, and type in 0.5 for the thickness. Rotate your bowl to see the full preview of the shell. The wall thickness is slightly thick for this size diameter bowl, so I want you to go in and change that inside thickness to 0.25, which is 1/4 of an inch, and then select OK. There are different ways that you can view your actual 3D model. If you go down to the bottom to Display Settings and hover over Environment, and you'll see there are different selections that you can choose from to change the look of your 3D modeling environment. Hover over the Visual Style option and select Shaded with Visible Edges Only. Now rotate your model to see how the visual style has changed. Select to create a sketch, and then ensure you're in the front view, and then select the front plane. Next, select the line tool, zoom in, and you want to drop your point in the middle of the base of your bowl. It is not going to be on the origin point. It's going to be around 0.5 inches on the grid. Pull your line up vertically around 1 to 2 inches, drop your point, right-click and select OK. Now select Sketch Dimension and dimension the vertical line you just drew to 2 inches. Then right-click, select Cancel to exit the Sketch Dimension tool. Next, you want to select your vertical line and then change the line type to construction. Now select the Spline tool, drop a point all the way to the top left of the bowl, drop your second point in the middle of your bowl at the tip of that vertical line you drew, and then draw your third point all the way over to the right top point of the bowl. Right-click and select OK. Go back to your line tool, drop your first point at the top left of the bowl, and then your second point at the top right of the bowl. Right-click and select OK. Once your sketch is a closed shape, select Finish Sketch. Drop down the Create menu and select Extrude. Set your view orientation to a perspective view. Ensure the type selection is Extrude. If Profiles did not pre-select your sketch, then select your sketch. Set the direction to 2 sides. Set the operation as cut. For the distance of side 1, type in 6, and for the distance of side 2, type in 6. Once your model looks like this, select OK. Your bowl should now have a nice edge dip. Select Modify and then select Move Copy. In the Move Copy pop-up window, ensure that Move Object has Body selected. For the selection box, select the bottom center of your bowl. Next, select Create Copy, then click and hold down that top arrow to drag your copy upward. Now in the distance, type 0.25, which is 1/4 of an inch, and select OK. To ensure that the two bowls are not colliding with each other, you need to create a section view. Select Inspect, then scroll down and select Section Analysis. For your cut plane, you want to select that front plane. Then select OK. You can toggle the section view on and off by selecting Analysis, then deselecting the eyeball next to Section 1. Select the top face of the base of your top bowl. Next, select Create Sketch. Notice when you select a surface prior to selecting Create a Sketch, you do not have to select a plane because you have pre-selected the surface to sketch directly on. Now select the line tool, zoom in, and drop a point all the way to the left of the small interior circle, and then drop a point all the way to the right of the small interior circle. Right-click and select OK. Next, select Create, and then select Point. Hover your mouse in the center of your circle, drop a point, right-click, and select OK. Then select Finish Sketch. Next, select Modify and then select Scale. When the Scale pop-up menu appears, select your top bowl for the Entities box. In the Points box, select the point you just created. Ensure that the scale type is uniform, and then in the Scale Factor box, type 0.75, which is 3/4 of an inch, and then select OK. To ensure the bowls are not colliding, select Analysis and then select the eyeball to see the section view. Once you're finished, deselect the eyeball next to section view. Select Construct and then select Axis Perpendicular at Point. In the pop-up menu, the face selection is the center point in the bottom of your top bowl. Once your axis is in place, select OK. Next, select Modify, and then select Move Copy. For the selection box in the pop-up menu, hover over that center point where the axis is protruding through, then select the point. Reposition your model to the top view, and next to the Move type, select Rotate. Reposition your model back to the perspective view, and then for the Axis box, select the axis in the center of your bowls. For the angle, type 90. Move to the perspective view to check everything, then the front view, and then select OK. To double check your alignment, select the eyeball next to Section 1 to turn on Section View. If everything is aligned properly, then deselect the eyeball to turn it off. To remove unwanted geometry from your model, drop down each tab and begin to deselect the eyeballs. Once you have removed all of the extra geometry, select Display Settings, Visual Style, and select Shaded.